Retail inflation in India is once again on the rise, raising concerns across industries, consumers, and policymakers. India's retail inflation hit a 9-month high of 5.49% in September, exceeding RBI's 4% target. Inflation, which is measured by Consumer Price Index, is driven by various domestic as well as global factors. This inflation hike has delayed anticipated rate cuts by the RBI, impacting the broader economy. India's retail inflation accelerated to a 9-month high of 5.49% on an annual basis in September, driven by persistent rise in vegetable prices and a lower year-ago base. Remember, retail inflation had eased to a 5-year low of 3.65% in the previous month. Now, this spike in retail prices in September also marks the first time since July that the print has exceeded the Reserve Bank of India's 4% medium-term target. The most significant contributor to the inflation spike last month has been rising food prices. The food inflation, which accounts for around half of the overall CPI basket, jumped to 9.24% in September from 5.66% in the previous month. This was primarily due to erratic rainfall patterns. While the monsoon season was anticipated to normalize, several regions faced below average rainfall, affecting the Kharif crop. Staples like rice, wheat, pulses, and vegetables saw significant price increases because of that. The inflation rate for vegetables is particularly high, considering a 36% rise in September as against 10.71% in the previous month. Rural inflation now quickened to 5.87% as against 4.16% in August of 2024, whereas urban inflation accelerated to 5.05% as compared to 3.14% in the previous month. Given the inflation surge, the RBI could be forced to delay interest rate cuts, which was, remember, much anticipated by the market. In its October policy meeting, the RBI chose for a status quo in rates at 6.5%, but shifted the stance to neutral from the earlier withdrawal of accommodation stance, signaling the possibility of the first rate cut in the December policy meet. Initially, expectations for rate cuts were fueled by the belief that inflationary pressures would ease by the end of the third quarter of 2024. The inflation reading breaching the 4% mark in September has prompted several economists to push back domestic rate cut bets for the first half of 2025 from early December of this year.